welcome to the deep dive. So you're trying to cut through all the noise about Florian Wirtz, right? The speculation around his potential move from Bayer Leverkusen is just everywhere.
Yeah, and you want to get a proper handle on what's actually happening beyond the headlines.
Exactly. Well, we've got you covered. We've dug into reports from kicker Bildy over in Germany, looked at the Liverpool Echo Anfield Index here.
Plus Transfermarkt, Billy News, even some fan discussions on Reddit about specific articles. We've tried to pull it all together.
Our mission today is really to understand the likelihood, is he actually leaving Leverkusen? Where might he go?
And what about the money? That's always huge. Plus, what are the key things that are actually going to influence his decision in the end? Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first. Why all the hype around Wirtz? I mean, he's obviously good.
It is more than good. For the last couple of seasons, he's been, fundamental for Leverkusen. Last season, think about it, their domestic double.
Right, he was key.
Absolutely key. 18 goals, 20 assists in 49 games. That's just staggering output. Those are the kinds of numbers that make everyone sit up and take notice.
No kidding. And he's kept it up this season too, hasn't he? Maybe the team hasn't hit the same heights overall, but individually?
Individually, he's still been brilliant. 16 goals, 15 assists in 44 games. Still fantastic numbers. But Anfield Index pointed out something interesting when you look deeper.
The per 90 stats.
Exactly. When you adjust for playing time, he's like elite level. Assists, way up there. Expected assists, same story. Shot creation, through the roof, 98th percentile, apparently.
Wow.
And passing, too. Passes attempted, progressive passes. He's in the high 90s for those. Plus, taking players on 96th percentile for successful take-ons, it shows consistent, high-level impact across the board.
So Anfield Index calling him a no-brainer for Liverpool. Needing that creative energy starts to make a lot of sense when you see those numbers.
It really does, and the comparisons people are making.
To De Bruyne?
Yeah, to a young Kevin De Bruyne. Several sources mention that. Some even suggest, that Wirtz's talent, his creativity, is maybe even more obvious at this same age.
High praise indeed. And you can't ignore his role in that unbeaten Bundesliga title season in 23-24. Was it 11 goals, 12 assists in the league?
Yeah, instrumental. That kind of performance in a historic title-winning side, it just underlines his quality. He's definitely considered right up there with Jamal Musiala as the top G-man talent of his generation.
Okay, so phenomenal talent, no question. Which brings us to the big question. Who's actually in for him? The rumor mill's working overtime. Let's start with Liverpool. They seem pretty serious.
Liverpool have definitely made their interest clear. Kicker and Bild both reported talks, like direct talks between the club and Wirtz's camp just this past Tuesday.
His representatives, his family.
Yeah, exactly. And Kicker even mentioned a possible visit to Liverpool with his parents or advisors. That feels like more than just, initial scouting.
And the Echo, the Liverpool Echo, says Liverpool have admired him for ages and are ready to, quote, step up their interest further if he fancies a Premier League move.
Anfield Index really hammers home why, too. They talk about needing that top-tier talent, someone who can unlock defenses, dominate possession. They even see him potentially filling the creative gap if Trent Alexander-Arnold moves into midfield more or, elsewhere.
Interesting tactical angle. But what about the fee? That $150 million is a huge number. Can Liverpool actually do that?
Well, Kicker raises that question, but interestingly, they also say Liverpool can pay it if they decide to. They have the financial muscle.
Backs that up.
Strongly. They point to Liverpool's healthy balance sheet, their good position regarding financial rules, recent prize money, commercial growth.
Wow.
They basically say it's a deal Liverpool can make happen. Seems pretty confident.
And it sounds like they're actively testing the waters now, right? The Echo mentioned contact just to gauge his interest. So they're not just admiring from afar.
Definitely seems active. But of course, Liverpool aren't the only English club sniffing around. Manchester City's name is everywhere, too.
City. What's the story there?
Well, apparently Wirtz's family also spoke to City, same day as the reported Liverpool talks, according to one source. And Transfermarkt pegs Wirtz as the perfect long-term replacement for De Bruyne at City.
That makes a lot of sense, positionally and stylistically.
It does. And Transfermarkt also claims City would be willing to meet that $150 million price tag.
Wow. Okay.
And then there was another report from Sacha Tabolieri suggesting there might even be some kind of agreement between City and Leverkusen already, just waiting for Wirtz himself to decide. That would be huge if true.
That sounds advanced.
Yeah.
So some sources see City as maybe leading the race.
Yeah, Florian Plettenberg over at Sky Germany suggested City are showing the most serious interest, making the strongest efforts. So yeah, it paints a picture of real tussle between Liverpool and City.
But then there's the German option, Bayern Munich. They've been linked forever, haven't they?
Oh yeah, for ages. It felt like a done deal at various points, according to some reports. Transfermarkt and KSTA both hinted at that.
And isn't there a family connection?
Apparently, yes. Transfermarkt mentions that Bayern believe his father being a fan and preferring a Munich move gives them an edge. That keeps cropping up, the family angle.
But can Bayern afford the 150 million? That seems to be the sticking point for them.
That's what Kicker and the Echo suggest, yeah. It might be a struggle for them to hit that number, especially as Transfermarkt notes, it smashed the Bundesliga transfer record? Are they willing to go that high?
Good question. But they haven't given up, have they?
Doesn't sound like it. Plettenberg reported Bayern are still pushing, maybe even looking at 2026 if he doesn't extend at Leverkusen. Bully News says the Bayern bosses are still confident they'll get him eventually.
And Bild even suggested an agreement with Wirtz might be in place, just the timing is uncertain. It's all quite contradictory, isn't it?
It really is. Very confusing. Lots of different signals coming out.
And we haven't even mentioned Real Madrid yet.
Right. Can't forget him. Kicker reckons they could jump in, mainly because of Xabi Alonso.
His former manager at Leverkusen.
Exactly. Transfermarkt says Alonso, who many expect to end up at Madrid, would love to take Wirtz with him. That relationship could be massive.
Plus, Spain itself might appeal to Wirtz.
Transfermarkt mentioned that, yeah, that Spain is somewhere he reportedly wants to play, and Plettenberg added that Madrid have now seriously started pursuing him. Talks have happened. So they're definitely in the mix, too.
Okay, so interest from England, Germany, Spain. It all comes back to that massive fee, though.
Yeah.
150 million. Let's break that down a bit.
Yeah, reported by Kicker, Transfermarkt, the Echo converting it to about 126 million. It immediately puts him in that, top bracket of young players globally.
But Kicker hinted Leverkusen might be softer on the price for foreign clubs.
That was an interesting point, yeah. Could give Liverpool or City an advantage over Bayern, perhaps. And CIES Football Observatory analysts, cited by the Echo, pegged the fee potentially lower, maybe around 129 meters or 109 meters. So the final number might land somewhere, a bit below the absolute peak asking price.
Maybe closer to 115 meters, the Echo suggested.
Could be. And it's worth remembering how these fees work on the books. The Echo explained it well. They get amortized, spread over the contract, usually 5 years max now. So 115 meters becomes 23 meters a year against the budget. Still significant, but manageable for these huge clubs.
And Liverpool specifically, the Echo argued they're well-placed financially. Lowest transfer debt among the big English clubs.
Yeah, it gives them room to maneuver. Plus, potential sales could free up more cash. Think Darwin Núñez, maybe others. They seem to have options if they really want to push the boat out.
And wages. That's always a big part.
Huge. The Echo suggested his current reported £4 a year could easily double at a top club. They also threw in the idea that if Trent moves to Madrid, big if, obviously that frees up maybe 10 meters a year in wages too. Lots of moving parts financially.
It just highlights that Liverpool, having not spent massively recently and coming off a title win, probably do have money to spend. But, like the Echo said, 125 meters or so would still absolutely shatter their transfer record. It's a massive commitment.
Absolutely. Which leads us to the really crucial part. What does Wirtz himself want? Because ultimately, it's his decision, right?
Transfermarkt seemed pretty clear he hasn't actually agreed anything with anyone yet. He's weighing things up.
And that family dynamic we mentioned. His dad preferring Bayern, according to Transfermarkt. Plus, he's apparently close with Musiala at Bayern. Those personal ties could definitely pull him towards Munich.
But then Transfermarkt also threw in that Wirtz himself might not be that key on England. That complicates things for Liverpool and City.
It does. And maybe the uncertainty around Pep Guardiola's long-term future at City is a factor too. You want stability when making such a big move.
On the flip side, Leverkusen themselves might prefer selling abroad, right? Avoid strengthening Bayern directly. Both Transfermarkt and Anfield Index suggested that.
Yeah, that makes sense from their perspective. And his relationship with Leverkusen is also key, apparently. It needs to be handled right.
Arne Slot was quoted saying, winning the league definitely helps attract players to Liverpool. The timing could be good for them.
Anfield Index went further, suggesting Wirtz is seriously considering Liverpool, even over maybe safer routes to Munich or Manchester. That implies he perhaps believes in Slot's project there.
So, putting it all together, what's the timeline? Is he actually leaving this summer? Kicker seemed pretty sure.
They did say everything indicates he'll leave this summer. Very strong wording. But
Leverkusen's bosses have sounded less certain.
yeah, Transfermarkt mentioned the CEO saying 50-50, the sporting director maybe 60-40 in favor of staying. And they're pushing back against those reports of a Bayern agreement, probably to keep their negotiating position strong with everyone else. So Leverkusen seem to be playing it cool, keeping options open.
And when might we actually know?
One report suggested Wirtz wants it decided before his holiday, but Anfield Index compared it to the Havertz saga, which dragged on, remember? And upcoming Nations League games could slow things down too.
So Liverpool are waiting for the green light after their talks, according to the Echo. But the Echo also kind of poured cold water on it, saying the general feeling is still he'll stay in Germany.
Yeah, that was the final takeaway from the Echo piece. Despite all the Premier League links and Liverpool's push, the expectation, or perhaps the safe bet, is still Leverkusen or Bayern. It's still really up in the air.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up then. The big picture. Florian Wirtz, undeniably a generational talent. Huge clubs. Liverpool, City, Bayern, Real Madrid, all seriously interested.
A massive transfer fee involved, probably north of 100 million, maybe even hitting that 150-meter mark, but potentially negotiable, especially for foreign clubs.
And his final choice? It's going to come down to a mix of things, isn't it? Family wishes, his own ambitions, which club project appeals most, maybe Xabi Alonso's influence.
Plus the financials, of course. It's incredibly complex, loads of conflicting reports flying around. Nothing is certain yet.
But hopefully, by digging into all these different angles, you've got a much better grip on the whole situation now, beyond just the transfer gossip headlines. You understand the different forces at play.
Definitely. You can see the pieces of the puzzle, even if they don't quite fit together perfectly yet.
So here's the final thought to leave you with. Considering everything his dad's Bayern preference, the supposed reluctance about England, the sheer financial power of the Premier League clubs, the Alonso factor in Madrid, what single thing do you think will be the absolute decider for Florian Wirtz? Where does he end up? Something to mull over.